Every time I step in the booth, I speak the truth. Y'all know what I'm bringing to you.
You're live on the air in The Truth with Terrance Ruth. North Carolina news and politics, culture, sports, and the latest from the Triangle and Eastern Carolina. The Truth with Terrance Ruth.
Hey, welcome. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Always a pleasure. Now, you know we're right around the corner from the Olympics. And so they came out with a Simone Biles documentary on Netflix. And I have to put some respect on her name because I did not know she was the greatest Olympian of all time. I've heard about Michael Phelps. I heard about Usain Bolt. Now, mind you, I know who she is, but I didn't know who she is. I didn't know she was walking around with 36 medals. And then in the documentary, I guess in gymnastics, when you create a move, it's named after you. They said she has about, I think, 4 or 5 of those. Listen, y'all, you get 1, you legendary. You get 2, you're in the Hall of Fame. You get 3, you somebody. 4 or 5, you the GOAT. you Tom Brady. You are. I just didn't know. I'm sorry, people. I didn't know Simone. I gotta give her props. So Olympics is coming around the corner. She's looking amazing even right now. And she's 36, I believe. And, that's a young woman's sport. So you're talking about young girls she's competing with, not even women. And she is dominating. So I got to give Simone her props. Also, the U.S. basketball, they're blowing out people. Again, I know it's not time to watch it. We got a lot of political stuff happening. We're going to get to that. I promise you we're going to get to that. But the U.S. team is looking impressive, y'all. And KD hadn't even played yet. So the U.S. team is looking unbelievable. So I'm excited about the Olympics that's coming. I'm also excited about Lyles. Y'all know Lyles. He was a U.S. sprinter. He's breaking records, and Lyles is looking, and Richardson, she's about as fascinating as you can get as an athlete. So no, the Olympics around the corner. I think it's the end of July. I think Peacock, you can watch it. I'm tuning in. I can't wait. I'm excited about it. But what drew my attention, everyone? No, it's not the president. We're going to talk about them later. Underneath the radar, there's a black fraternity, I believe it's the Alphas, who voted to ban transgender women as members. Now, I normally don't get news, especially national news, that centers fraternities. I just don't. But this one took my eye because it was almost a unanimous vote. And again, I don't know the numbers. Please check the numbers. There's articles written on it. But it created an uproar. And this is a recent vote. The source of the ban, it comes from a historically black fraternity, which itself represents a marginalized community. That's the source of the ban. The timing, the decision happens amidst increasing societal acceptance of transgender individuals. Now, that's what really shocked me because many organizations are being canceled because of decisions like this. You're talking about an all-black institution, historically black institution, taking a stance on this. It sort of like caught my eye. The controversy within the community, the decision has sparked significant debate and division within the black community among fraternity members. So I can't imagine. I don't know how the vote took place. I don't even know how the motion made it to the floor. I don't know. All I know is that this news sat under the radar of all the presidential things and all the shootings and all the things that just people are trying to just ignore at the moment or at least jump into. Yes, this vote to ban transgender members. I haven't seen as much public backlash, but I'm not as close to this fraternity. So I would love for you to call in and let me know what's your thoughts on this. Because I can't imagine what the backlash would be. Please call in at 919-872-9210, 919-872-9210. Now, here are some of the things that we think will be the response to this vote to ban transgender women. Number one, the outrage from the LGBTQ advocates, which we've already seen from D.C., Strong condemnation for the LGBTQ rights groups, highlighted the discrimination and exclusion inherent in the decision. Then they said that this decision received support from the traditionalists. Now, we got to say, what's the traditionalists? In the black culture, and especially popular elements of black culture, it has been, at least historically, reluctant to embrace the fluid gender identity movement. So you have, and they're calling them traditionalists. So you have the outrage from the LGBTQ community, you have the traditionalists, and there are those who say, hey, we support this decision. Even the vote seemed to be a very popular vote. It didn't seem like it barely got by. I believe the majority of the votes voted in support of banning. So the traditionalists must be the ones in membership or in leadership or have voting power in this fraternity. Again, I'm talking from a distance. I just want to get your input. Call in at 252-937-7400, 252-937-7400. Now, this calls for dialogue. Dialogue that we heard around the time when HIV was a major sort of health cry in our country, and we were talking about how to stop the spread of HIV and what does it mean to allow people to share their gender preference, or at least share their sexual orientation or appetite, so that they don't have to hide and spread the disease. That was one narrative at the time. But it does bring the floor out for dialogue. Protests and demonstrations are expected to be organized by students and others. Again, you're talking about an organization that thrives off of college campuses. Like that's where you join. Traditionally, that's where you join. Social media campaigns, we're probably going to see a slew of those form. But I just want to get your thoughts. A black fraternity banning transgender membership. And I want to leave it on the floor. I would love to just get your thoughts on that. Now, mind you, now you're talking about a socially acceptable audience listening to a traditionally loved and beloved black institution with this ban. I would love to get your thoughts. There's several articles on it. Please Google it. So what comes from, and how should we respond to the backlash, or at least the call for conversation between traditional black institutions like the fraternity, I believe it was the Alphas, and this vote to ban transgender membership? Number one, some of the researchers said you need a mental health support. What if you identify as that and you are an alpha? What do you do when you live in both lanes? How do you grapple with your we're being torn apart between two ways in which you identify and loving both of them intensely? How do you grapple with that? The second one is community forums. Open up this dialogue to the community. Let the community talk through sort of the motivation behind this ban, or the intention, the goal in the ban. Education programs. How do we begin to educate our community? How do we begin to educate on college campuses and adults so that we can learn more? It seemed like this decision has sparked a larger conversation between the black community and transgender community. I would love to see how the fraternity has created their policy framework so that this becomes a decision. I would like to see what language they've used in that. But yeah, I just wanted to just throw that out. That caught my brain. I was a little bit floored because you don't really see headlines like that. I know other organizations that try to have a hard stance against the LGBTQ community have received intense advocacy and protest and demonstrations. And so I'm intrigued to see how this turns out. Historically, the Alphas have been a very beloved institution in America and around the world. And so I would love to just see how this plays out. If you have any thoughts, please call in. I would love to get your thoughts and everything on this topic. Again, you're talking about a historically loved black institution, the Alphas, fraternity, make a vote to ban transgender membership. Again, this is going to spark some debate. I think we're going to be revisiting this issue in the near future. But since I've been gone, it seems like politics is moving at the speed of lightning. I'm here every Thursday, but between the Thursdays, it seems like there's like a million things are happening all at once. So since the last time we were together, we had a president that was shot at. Or at least, since it did skim his ear, you can at least say a presidential candidate and a former president that was shot. Blood was drawn. And so I believe it was a Saturday, and I believe it was live on TV, and I was watching it. And I'm watching former President Trump talking, and then all of a sudden people start ducking. What you don't see anything that's outside the screen. So you start seeing people duck, you even see Trump duck, but you don't see anything significant at that time. You don't see any blood or anything. And so then you see the sort of the Secret Service get around Trump and they walk him off the stage. But when you start to hear this story, it's an unbelievable story. The kid parents are both counselors. Both of them are counselors. The mom, I believe, is registered Democrat. The dad is, I believe, registered unaffiliated. And then the son is, the shooter is a registered Republican. So it's not this very linear story where he was indoctrinated as a kid and we're learning the details as they come, but it just was a bizarre story. But it made me think, have we been in a moment like this before? Have we as a society have been in a moment where we had to respond to a national leader being shot? And yes, actually. We had JFK, we had MLK, and we had Bobby Kennedy. And if you want to throw in there, Malcolm X. So you've had 4 leaders in the span of a few years all assassinated. Not just shot, which is bad enough. So I don't want to minimize that at all because I don't. But our country has dealt with the assassination of 4 leaders within a span of 2 to 3 years. And I had to say, what are the things, like how do we respond to that? So the research says that we first feel unstable. So if you listening to the news and you're listening since that shooting, things seem to be unstable. People are questioning the violence in America. People are questioning the tone of political debate. So Biden didn't run a campaign ad during that time. The Republican Party said they're going to tone down the hatred narratives. The Democratic Party said they're going to tone down their narrative. They didn't want the violence to escalate. The next thing you start to hear mourning. You start to hear people just mourning the level of violence and just direct action. Because I think a person was killed in the stands. I think another person was shot. And then the shooter himself was killed. So you're talking about death at a political rally. And I was just at a political rally. And security is everywhere. And so to imagine that you're surrounded by security and this can still happen. So people are questioning everything. There's sort of a grieving moment, almost like a moment of loss. And it might just be a loss of safety, feeling secure and safe. The next was security reforms. I mean, people started to question. They had a video out of people pointing to the roof, showing the shooter way before he shot President Trump. I mean, literally, they're like, hey, there's a guy right here. I mean, like not even yards away. Hey, there's a guy up on the roof. They even have now officers seen the kid before the shooting started, seen him walk around. You're probably going to see policy and legislative changes for presidential candidates because this was supposed to be a secure area. It wasn't like he was just walking down the street. This was supposed to be a perimeter secure area. And then also you're starting to hear social unrest. You start to hear rumblings of people saying we're going to get Biden back or we're going to get the Democratic Party back. You're starting to hear rumblings, even if they're not true. Just the perception that there may be a response, a retaliation, it could cause some unrest. And so I want to get your thoughts. How did you feel after you heard that there was a shooting of a presidential candidate? 919-872-9210. 919-872-9210. 9210. I want to hear your thoughts. 252-937-7400. 252-937-7400. I would love to get your thoughts on this. And I want to move to comparing these moments, right? So when we lost JFK, MLK, and Robert Kennedy, at least when we seen violence to a national leader, how did we respond to that? Like, what was the response to that? And I want to get your reactions, but most people, if it was a significant role, if there was a leader that had a high likability rating in our country, then people felt that it was a national tragedy. So when we lost JFK, people see that as a national tragedy. When MLK was lost in the assassination, people felt a profound loss in the movement. Even Bobby Kennedy, people thought that there was going to be a stop to the progressive movement. So what happens now is you start to see conspiracy theories. Man, there's probably 1 million videos on conspiracy theories about JFK, about Martin Luther King. That's still coming out to this day. And so you've heard over the weekend stories about Trump. They wanted to kill him. It was an inside job. So you're starting to hear all these sort of conspiracy theory narratives. But what we have to remember is that this moment is going to be seared into our cultural memory. You're going to remember where you were. You're going to remember your response. No matter if you like this figure or not, this is going to be seared. And most of the presidents that did lose their life to a shooting, like Lincoln and JFK, these are beloved figures. These are figures that we talk about that kids can name in elementary school. But when we come back, I want to talk about sort of the weight of this political season on our culture. All right, I want to talk about the weight of this political season on our culture. When we come back from this break, I see you on the other side. Truth with Terrance Ruth.
Every time I step in the booth, I speak the truth. Y'all know what I'm bringing to you.
You're live on the air in The Truth with Terrance Ruth. North Carolina news and politics, culture, sports, and the latest from the Triangle and Eastern Carolina. The Truth with Terrance Ruth.
All right, we're back again. 919-872-9210, 919-872-9210. I want to get your thoughts because I'm sitting and I'm watching the polls and they're talking to voters and they're talking to Americans and they're saying, hey, how do you feel about your country or at least about democracy? And people are feeling mighty low, okay? I'm just being honest with you. How people feel about democracy, they're feeling mighty low about democracy. They're considering it low voter engagement. And let's walk this timeline down to this past Saturday where you had someone shoot at former President Trump. You had questions about Trump and his legal cases where he became a convicted felon. Then you had a debate where people questioned the age of Biden. And then you had a Democratic Party that felt like it was trying to understand how they move forward post that debate, and do they need to pick somebody else, okay? And Biden said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here in my fight. So you've seen some sort of infighting. Even though it was small rumblings, it was loud enough to where the whole world can hear it. And then you had this thing called Project 2025 come out, and it's linked to President Trump. And so voters are hearing this, and this is like week after week after week. We're not talking about a break here. We're talking about week after week. We're still midway through the year. And people are just getting hit and hit and hit with these political blows. And mind you, there are other political races that are going on, that are going after each other, that are saying very negative things about each other. So you have voters just being slammed with negative. And so they said, how do you feel after the shooting about democracy? And the first thing, they said, heightened polarization. People feel completely disconnected from their neighbors. People actually feel alone. They will not watch a political show. They will not watch a political commercial. They will not even engage in political conversation. People are disconnecting from political institutions. So they're starting to feel that everything now is polarized. Either you believe it or you're evil. Either you believe it or you're not even human. The second thing they said is an erosion of trust. People are feeling less confident in trusting of leaders that have been put up by the parties to run the country. That trust is dwindling. It should be building up to November, okay? Like that's how it normally goes. Normally you build up to November. It is dwindling down to the point where you're still hearing, even in the morning talk shows today, you're still hearing rumblings about at least the ratings or the polls around the country for Biden. You're hearing internal fights. Then we have the Republican Party going on, I believe in Chicago, and their speeches are just as intense as before the shooting. And so people are like, man, nothing's changed. We had a person that was shot at, we had a person that was convicted, we had a person that probably lost their memory during a debate, and then you literally, nothing has changed. And so people are feeling less and less trustworthy. The third thing is media scrutiny. People are being skeptical of the media. And that's where political campaigns live. They live in buying commercials. They live in buying media interviews or sound bites or appearances. People are becoming less and less trustworthy of the media itself. Now, there's some breadcrumbs to this. Remember when Trump used to attack the media and say things about the media? Now it has left just the Trump bubble, and now you're getting a whole country that's starting to scrutinize the media a little bit more. The next one is a call for unity. We haven't heard this in a while. A call for the country to come together, especially after that shooting. Biden and Trump called each other on the phone, everyone. They called each other on the phone. If you just go 48 hours before that phone call, they thought each other were idiots. they thought that they were the worst human beings to run the country. After the shooting, they called each other and they talked on the phone. It used to be that you wear your party, you get on the floor, you advocate for your stance on your party, then you leave the floor and you build sort of a colleague, a sorority fraternity with your members in Congress and the House and the General Assembly. Now it's so intense that you're not even friends off the floor. So now we've had a return to call for unity. The next thing we've seen is a fear of violence. People don't want to see violence. They don't want to see people shot at. I believe, I could be wrong, please call me, 919-872-9210, 919-872-9210, or 252-937-7400. I believe that the shooter head was blown off. I could be wrong. I believe that there are raw pictures where he was shot in the head. We're not accustomed to that. Other countries in the world may be, but we used to video game, maybe movie graphics, but real life, like human beings, we're still, when we see it in our face, it affects our country. We've had mass shootings, a bunch of them. We've had somebody go into a church, a black church in South Carolina, and kill a whole Bible study. So I'm not saying that we haven't engaged in violence. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying when it's put in our face, America doesn't want to see it. That's why during the civil rights, when the demonstrations, the Edis Bridge, when the demonstrations were shown on TV, America responded. That's all I'm saying. When we see it, there's something about seeing it that's different than hearing about it or reading about it. International perception. This is what I would love to see. How does the world see us? Like, I'm living in America, I'm living in the South, I'm living in North Carolina, and so I'm seeing it from that perspective, but how does the world see our country? How are they watching us? Are they losing hope in America? Are they losing trust in America's ability to protect the world, or at least lead the world? So again, these are some of the things that are that we have to reflect on as a country with the line of events, not just the shooting, but there's a line of events that led to the shooting, and we're still going to select from one of these two in November, less than 4 months away. The next one is public anxiety. If you haven't heard this from any of your neighbors or friends, then you haven't been outside. People are feeling anxious, y'all. People are feeling nervous. People don't want to turn on the TV. They don't even want to go to the polls. Let's say these two are up for election and they make it all the way to November and we have an election. People are now afraid that if the right person doesn't win, will there be a retaliation? Even if there is an election. People are now afraid of a retaliation if the vote doesn't go in their favor. This is real anxiety. This is not a make-believe, yeah, you just making that up just to, get people to focus on politics. No, this is real. I want to hear your thoughts. Are you feeling the same thing? Do you feel confident about democracy? Do you feel confident about your candidate? Call me, 252-937-7400, 252-937-7400. The next one is increased security. The rhetoric is so high that they're now providing security to all the candidates. Now, I don't know if you ever, had a chance to read on the way the Secret Service protect the president, but that's intense. There's a documentary on it. That's intense. Just read about the Beast, the car that the president drives in. Just go and watch a YouTube video on the Beast. If you can bust into the Beast, you're a bad man. You're Iron Man. You are in a metal suit and you're Iron Man if you can get into that limousine. So the increased security has now become a cost to us so that we can protect our leaders who are trying to advocate to lead our country. Again, this anxiety, this increased sense of security or lack of security is real. And the very last thing is the legal and policy debates. It used to be that when you're in these debates, you're talking about policy. What are you going to do for America? You're talking about the legal ramifications of your decisions around policies. That's secondary to the drama of the politics. We're talking about how mean a person is before we even talk about what they say. We're talking about the lack of just coherent words in a row versus the lies that are said. Like, we're not even talking about the policy anymore. The policy becomes second and third tier. The only time I hear about the policy when somebody mentions Project 2025. And when I say, hey, tell me more, they can't tell me more. They can't tell me more about the project. It's 900 pages. In our last show together, I walked you through some of the higher themes. But we're not even talking about policy anymore. Policy is secondary. And when I talk to most of the individuals that I talk to, I'm talking about a small sample size. I'm not talking about all of America. They said, hey, I couldn't watch the debate. I turned it off after 10, 15 minutes. We used to sit with popcorn and a drink, and we want to hear the debate. We want to hear the last word. We want to see them shake hands at the end. We want to know who's our next leader, potential next leader. People shut off the debate early. We're not even listening to policy. We just want two functional human beings. That's where we're at. We're not even debating their policy strategy. We just want two functional human beings. This is not me. I'm telling you what the research is saying, people are saying. And I would love to hear your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? I'm not telling you to be politically correct. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What's in your heart? What do you have in your mind? What do you want to share? 919-872-9210. 919-872-9210. On the other side of this break, I want to move into how do we respond to make sure that we preserve our mental health during this season. You can only take too many gunshots. You can only take too many, political, violent, or angry rhetoric. So we get on the other side of this break. How can you take care of yourself during this political season? All right, so on the other side of this break, let's check me with Terrance Ruth. Truth with Terrance Ruth. I look forward to seeing you.
Every time I step in the booth, I speak the truth. Y'all know what I'm bringing to you.
You're live on the air in The Truth with Terrance Ruth. North Carolina news and politics, culture, sports, and the latest from the Triangle and Eastern Carolina. The Truth with Terrance Ruth.
All right, welcome back. Now, we spent this whole episode really, talking through just the weight of this political season. You're talking about a convicted presidential candidate. You're talking about just a botched debate. You're talking about an internal fighting with the Democratic Party. You see people who said they hated Trump, now they love him. You're seeing, just somebody try to assassinate one of the presidential candidates. And it's a lot. And if we don't honor that, we'll be lying to ourselves. It's a lot. It's a lot for a voter to take on. I'd rather you be geared up, healthy, excited to vote than to drag into November, tired of politics. And so these are some ways. We're going to end on a wonderful note. Here are some ways in which you can preserve yourself through this season. A season where people build up their weapons to attack other human beings and put it in your face so that you can make a selection. One, limit your news consumption. Just set boundaries. I'm only going to watch an hour. I'm only going to watch a 10-minute YouTube video of highlights. With that, choose a reliable source. I know it's hard to do now. It's harder to do now than before. It used to be there was one news channel, and it was on either at certain times. Then CNN came, and it was 24/7. But for those of you who are young, it used to be that news wasn't 24/7, believe it or not. You had to wait for the newspaper or for, a late night channel, okay? But just reliable sources, y'all. Make sure you're just not listening to anybody because they can take you to an extreme and it'll be difficult to come back. So limit your news consumption. Number two, just practice self-care. You know yourself. So exercise regularly, eat healthy, sleep well. Because the more anxious you are, the more you lose hope in this country or in democracy. It's going to be harder to sleep, actually. So sleep well. Clear your mind. The next thing is stay connected. Don't lose connection to other human beings. You don't want to be in an echo chamber where you're only listening to yourself. Stay connected. Get a social support. It used to be the church. You used to go and meet people on Sunday. You had a testimony service. For those of y'all who are young, y'all don't know what testimony service is. It used to be a moment where you share your story, you share your struggle, and people connect with your struggle, and then y'all get ready for the next week. You get ready for now those moments to connect and convene and to share your struggle, not just Instagram show your wins, share your struggle. You don't get that as often. You can't be vulnerable as often, but stay connected. Join a support group that you can actually be vulnerable with people. Number four, mindfulness and relaxation techniques. This is what I had to learn. I took a sound bath. Yes, I've never heard of it myself before I took it. I took a sound bath, and it's almost like yoga, but you lay down and they rub this thing around a bowl and it makes certain sounds, and the room is quiet. And the coach is whispering sort of words to you. Yoga, meditation or prayer. Some people use prayer. Journaling. I journal. So journaling could be a thing. Write your thoughts down. You see a lot of hip-hop artists, rappers, they journal because then they turn those into songs and rhymes. But mindfulness and relaxation. Number five, focus on what you can control. Some of these issues feel like they're out of your hand. Like they're too big. You only have one vote, and you gotta cast your vote. And you think that's gonna make a difference in thousands of votes that have to be made and millions of votes that have to be made in this country? Yes, your vote is important. But your vote is what you are in control of. That one vote. Control what you can control, and don't try to control more than that. All right? The second one, seek professional help. There's some cultures where professional help is still not something that's welcome. There's still some cultures where you're like, man, you're getting a therapist, man, you're getting a counselor, you talking to somebody. If you don't believe in any of that, talk to your pastor, your faith leader, somebody. Go find a grandma somewhere. But go and share. Don't keep that in. What they find with most mass shooters or people who try to commit public big shootings, they've been alone for some time. Even this kid that recently shot at President Trump, he was bullied in school. Very intelligent kid. But when they interviewed the kids that knew him, he just graduated. He may be at 21. He just graduated high school. They said that he sat alone at the lunch table. Loneliness is not what we were created for. We were created for community. So don't get lonely. Connect with somebody. Talk to somebody. The next one is digital detox. Now, this is something that I'm still learning, okay? So I'm talking with you, not at you, okay? I'm talking with you. Digital detox. Put your phone away, unlog out, delete certain apps that keep you locked in. Listen, if you watch any documentaries on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's designed to keep you looking. It's designed to keep you liking. It's designed to scroll and to get you to have an emotional response to somebody liking your picture. There's an emotional response to someone liking your picture. Go watch the Simone Biles documentary on Netflix. She said she had to delete Twitter because the words were so negative that it was impacting her mental health. It's not just an app. That app ends up translating into emotional damage. So digital detox, okay? Digital detox. Next one, practice gratitude. If you want to hear people who are unhappy and unthankful, go online. You can find them all day. Any, many, miny, mo. But practicing gratitude, being deliberate about gratitude, that's a different ball game. Practice gratitude. Keep a journal about the things you're happy about for that day. You don't have to do weeks, just for that day. And then positive affirmation. It's easy to rip somebody. It's harder to give that affirmation. It's countercultural now, it seems like. to give somebody affirmations is countercultural thing. And then the very last one, community engagement. Engage in your community. Engage in civic government. Even if you do it local. Locally, you can touch your mayor. You can touch your city council, your commissioners, your school board. You can touch them. They're there. They're in the grocery store with you. Go and engage your council members, your commissioners directly. Those are 10 ways in which you can keep your mental health during this season. I'm not going to say it's easy. You do have to understand the issues. You do have to understand human beings. But yeah, just plug into that. But I want to leave with this. We are walking into November. It feels like we're running into November. But we're crawling into November. And democracy, when it's healthy, is healthy when people are healthy. And this is just a call to you to be healthy. So August is back to school. We're back to school. For those of you who are not year round, we're walking back into school during this same season. So you got to pump your kids up for getting back to school. Also, because your kids have online community, they know about the presidents. They know about the drama. They know about the shootings. Kids now are aware, alert. Kids are not waves away or centuries away from knowing and understanding the implications of somebody shooting at the president. Educate your kids before they go to school. Prepare them for a wave of cultures that they will experience that will not have the same views, the same parenting style. So they may run into a kid that know more about the politics than they do. They may run into a kid that has a different view. They may run into a kid that hate them for their views. Prepare your kids for that, y'all. Don't let them walk into this school year blind, not knowing, not prepared to deal with the intensity of the political environment. That's going to be their introduction to the new school year. Don't just take care of yourself, take care of the kids. Take care of the kids. Make sure the kids are healthy. And I'm going to leave you with that because I think if we're going to have a democracy that's strong and healthy and producing good policy leaders, good decisions, then we need good, strong people voting. And I believe that wholeheartedly. All right? Oh, I got to give you this announcement, everyone. Today's a big day, big day, big day, big day. So today, I officially became a candidate for mayor of Raleigh in 2024 in November. Truthforraleigh.org is where you can find me. I'm on every platform. Again, truthforraleigh.org. I center people. I think healthy people make a healthy city. If that's what you vibe with, check out truthforraleigh.org. And again, thank you for allowing me to share this time with you. It's always a pleasure. Truth with Terrance Ruth. I'm signing off. Catch you later.
Every time I step in the booth, I speak the truth. Y'all know what I'm bringing to you.
You're live on the air in The Truth with Terrance Ruth. North Carolina news and politics, culture, sports, and the latest from the Triangle and Eastern Carolina. The Truth with Terrance Ruth.